We're going to bring in now our next guest. He represents the Uhuru movement as the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, who has submitted a video speech to this event, so we'll be hearing more from him later. But pleasure and honor, of course, as always, to speak to him right now, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Chairman, great to see you again.
Thank you so much. It's very good to be with you, and I'm really excited by the fact that you are talking to all of these people who are challenging the status quo in some way or another. So thank you so much.
Of course. And it is so great to see you not behind plate glass and not in an orange jumpsuit, not one day, not one dime. You want to talk a little bit about your recent victory? You are a free man, thank God.
Well, we're still working on the...
Well, you're right. That was probably a bit of an overstatement, but it could have been worse.
But it's a good overstatement.
Okay, good.
It recognizes the fact that the United States government had intended to lock me up for 15 years and to take $250,000 from me by way of fines, etc. And even at the last minute, the prosecution, after the trial, not able to present any evidence that proves us being Russian agents, and haven't had to make that concession, even at the last minute, was asking that I should be imprisoned for 3 years and pay the government a $100,000 fine, plus pay some back taxes that we're struggling with the IRS about around, some property that was sold, etc. So that's what they were asking. So the "not one day, not one dime" slogan, it resonates.
Absolutely, yeah. We recently, when we filled in hosting for the Jimmy Dore show, we had a guy on named Greg Foreman who hosts a show called The Black Conservative Perspective, and we showed him the clip of you and Tucker Carlson where you talked about how, part of why you and your movement were on the enemies list of the political brass in this country is that you reject sort of welfare state or welfare nanny statism and instead advocate for economic self-determination. And his exact quote to us after he saw the video was, "You just blew my mind," because he didn't understand how a socialist could advocate for economic self-determination. In the minds of a lot of conservatives, socialism means welfare. So do you want to just expand upon the distinction, how you can be for economic self-determination, where you guys have started your own businesses and set up your own marketplaces while still calling yourself a socialist? Because I think that's really important. A lot of people don't understand that.
I think that is important. And I think one of the reasons people don't understand it is because with the assault that was made on the Black liberation movement, the African liberation movement in the 1960s, those of us who fought against colonialism were disappeared. We were imprisoned. We were assassinated, from Malcolm to Black Panther Party members to the co-founder of the African People's Socialist Party. We were pushed off the agenda. The narrative was taken away from us. We were replaced by, as a part, we think, of a counterinsurgency effort. We were replaced. They had people propped up, like the Sharptons, if you will, and others who were opposed to the whole notion of fighting against colonialism. If you fight against you can't fight against colonialism and at the same time fight to be American. We're saying that colonialism is something where foreign alien forces takes over the control, the economic, political power of a people, and extracts value, human and material resources, etc., for the benefit of the colonizers. A parasitic relationship. And our movement, influenced by people like Malcolm X and Frantz Fanon and the Black Panther Party and Jomo that preceded the African People's Socialist Party, was fighting against colonialism. We had come to a point where we said that fighting to be a part of America is not the issue. The fact is, we have a problem because we are part of America, not because we're not a part of America. So to be fighting to be a part of America was to fight for a solution that never represented the problem that we were confronted with. So we want to be independent and free people. And we are socialists because we also understand that when we talk about colonialism, we're not talking about colonialism as simply a policy. As it may have been by Portugal 600 years ago when they initiated the assault on Africa that resulted in the development of the slave trade and all these other things. We're not talking about a policy, even if it may have, if we're talking specifically about an Israel that has a policy as it relates to Palestinian people. We're talking about a mode of production in the same way that people used to understand. People who call themselves Marxists and communists and whatever used to understand a mode of production is the process within which society produces itself. It's a food, clothing, shelter, and everything therein. That's a mode of production, and there have been various kinds of modes of production, and one that has emerged in recent history is colonial mode of production. Because this is the first time the whole world was connected in a single process of economic activity. There's never been a world economy until Portugal attacked Africa, started this process that resulted in me being in St. Louis now, and some of us being in Jamaica, and some of us being in Cuba, and some of us being all these other places around the world. This is a mode of production. This is how the production process initiated, and upon this process, the whole capitalist system was founded. So we are anti-capitalist by being anti-colonialist. Our objective is we are more than that, because we are conscious. So, because to say we're anti-capitalist by being anti-colonialist, I mean, you don't even have to be conscious of struggling for socialism or communism to do that. But we're saying that we are conscious people. We are conscious revolutionary organization that recognizes that the struggle against colonialism, the colonial mode of production, has to result in the power of the African working class, the work in solidarity with working people around the world, taking over the power and destroying this parasitic social system that harms us all. Anyway, I know it's a kind of response to what you raised, but anyway, that's how we understand it.
No, not at all. I thought that was a great answer. Now, we've been in touch with your organization, and it's great that you recorded a speech that they're going to be playing this afternoon. I don't know if you were familiar with Worker Strike Back before we got in touch. What are your impressions of the organization?
I was not familiar, frankly, before you got in touch. I saw, just as I was coming on, I saw some of the people who you were talking to, Chris Hedges and a couple of the other people, and they are impressive, intellectual figures in this struggle against imperialism and what have you. So, but I'm not that familiar with the organization, and I have to be self-critical about that.
No, that's okay. That's the whole point. That's why we reached out. This is what it's all about. It's all about building. And actually, Uhuru has a table at the organization where Russ is right here with some of your comrades here. Russell.
Oh, that's Comrade Sandra.
There we go. Yeah, Sandra, wait a minute. You didn't tell me you were in Seattle. Did you tell me? Did you fly in? Where are you from?
She said, he asked where you're from.
For me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm living out here. I was raised out here.
Oh, I've been talking to Sandra this whole time about setting this up. I didn't realize she was going to be at the event. I thought you had other people who were going to be there with the organization.
Sandra's the one who taught me how to turn on a computer, and then she left, and I haven't been able to learn anything more since that time.
I got to meet Chairman Omali in the 80s when the party was doing a community-controlled housing initiative in Oakland, trying to put the abandoned buildings and housing into the hands of the people, and been following him ever since.
And the police attacked the place, and she was working as a reporter then for one of the radio stations, and she had spent the night with the people who were occupying the property, and the police attacked the building and took her to jail. So I knew that was going to be the last time we saw her, but she said that's what really wanted her to work.
Yeah, I was at KPFA, and the party was taking over abandoned buildings and fixing them up for homeless people to live in.
Yeah.
And the government didn't want that to happen. But then the community-controlled housing initiative that really opened up that whole housing question, which wasn't that known at the time in Oakland, in terms of homeless people and abandoned buildings and gentrification. So.
All right, these guys look very, very thrilled back here. Have you met your volunteers here? Have you met
I'm looking at this comment. They look pretty familiar to me. Right on. Splendid, comrades. Splendid. Yes. Yeah, these are fierce warriors. Thank you so much for.
We look forward to hearing. I
know.
know you have a statement that you're going to giving to the full conference here, so look forward to hearing that shortly.
Yeah, wish I could have been there in person to do it. I hate doing those kinds of written statements and whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, well, we are looking to come out to St. Louis over the summer to do a documentary
I'm looking
on
for you to
you.
come to St. Louis.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you
Yes.
put the idea in our minds because when we first interviewed you, you always mentioned how you put the invitation out to everybody who interviews you to come out there. And we thought, you know what, that's a great idea. You know, I come from a filmmaking background, and so you're going to be the subject of our next documentary, which we're going to shoot over the summer.
Yeah,
Right
we're gonna trash the local barbecue scene.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right on.
You know, Kansas City's way better.
Yeah. So what's the response there at the table? How is everybody doing there? It seems like a big crowd at the event.
How's your response been at the table here?
Stop and talk, which is not something that's easy to come by, but in a group like this, everybody wants to talk about it. And people who walk up say they have already heard of the Urban movement,
Right.
which is you don't run into that on the street. So it makes me happy that people know about the Guru and the Guru 3 and the Victory and everything.
All right.
Yeah, and we've been selling a lot of Burning Spear newspapers over here, and we got the books, so people are buying the books.
Good.
So it's
Good.
great. It's very friendly, very great group of people.
Excellent. Well, Russ, did you have any questions for the chairman? We have him for a few more minutes.
Yeah, but did you were you watching the speeches?
I was not able. I was.
Yeah, he was in meetings before.
Yeah, was in meetings. Yeah.
What do you a little bit of, you know, not that I'm starting a
Right.
smackdown here or anything, but a little like point of contention between Jill Stein and Shama seemed to be about working through the electoral system.
Mhm.
Like Shama was not categorically against it, but she seemed to feel that's something for later, because if you don't have a movement behind you, these people just get co-opted anyway. She made an interesting point. You know, she said, you know, you got a lot of people with progressive values who get elected and then they don't have them anymore because the corporate attack on them is so great and there's just not enough of a movement behind them to support them. So where would you land on that?
And listen, I really appreciate these discussions and this point, because we do electoral work, but we are a party, and so we have run people for office. We ran for people. One of the reasons they tried to put us in prison because in 2017 and 2019 we ran candidates for office in St. Petersburg, Florida, on a reparations platform. And it was significant enough that Obama, for the first time, actually came and got involved in a local election and endorsed our opponent who was calling for reparations, our opponent in opposition to our stance around reparations. So I do believe that it's really important not to sacrifice this space that's been fought for. Black people fought for the right to vote. This was the democratic space we died and we fought in the process of doing, but just to vote is nothing. And the thing is, how do we hold anybody accountable? Everybody's not as good and nice and committed as Jill Stein is. And I have a deep amount of affection for Stein. Stein came and supported our campaign, went to jail here in St. Louis, defending our campaign and things like that. But I think that a point can be made and should be made that it's not good enough for people just to be good people, etc. What is it that holds them, locks them in to the politic that they talk about? I mean, because I can't say the Democratic Party lied to us because they never promised us anything and they never gave us anything. So they didn't lie. They just, they just said we are better than the Republicans and the Republicans are going to eat you up and that kind of thing. But I do believe that we are a party and we have run people for office either as a party or through instruments, that organizations that we've created that becomes the basis for the political movement, the political struggle. And that's the thing that we win people to. We created a 19-point black community platform agenda. We created a coalition that now consists of something like 18 different organizations. The Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. And this coalition put forth a national black political agenda for self-determination. And we have endorsed and run candidates and things like that, but it's based on that's what I've just mentioned, and this is what holds these people together. I'm not sure about what kind of organization. I mean, I know that Jill ran as a candidate of the Green Party, and I'm not quite sure what that means in terms of structurally and how that holds anybody to the commitment that they say they made to the people, because people do sell out. And I don't have to come up with the list of the people who made promises to the people and they were so charming and what have you, and then got votes and then just double crossed the people. And I can't claim the Democratic Party ever did that. They never lied. They never said they were going to do anything for black people. With Obama, he just winked his eye, imitated Al Green singing, and had a good left-hand jump shot. And that's all they did, you understand? So I can't say he lied to us. He didn't lie to us. He was right up front, and he said he didn't support reparations.
Yeah, Obama in particular, if you go back, he really did just run on vibes. Yeah. Like, he was talented enough to get away with it. Harris was not. But he really did just run a vibe campaign. Like, you can't really say, oh, he went back on the things he promised. He really promised very little other than an aesthetic change.
Well, by the time Harris was there, they were involved in public mass murder of Palestinian people. I mean, just grotesque disregard for life of colonized people. And the Palestinian people helped to resurface the whole colonial question. And even as hard as they worked to try to pretend that they were just at this group they call Hamas, people were able to recognize it was the Palestinians that they were attacking. Just as when they attacked us, they said it was just Uhuru and the African People's Socialist Party. It was the African Liberation Movement. It's the struggle of black people for independence. So people were able to perceive that. And I think that Africans just got tired of being handled like that. And I feel like people like Obama and Harris, it's hard to come up with forces of individuals who could be held in greater disrepute than those two individuals. They're hanging on to even the perception of humanity by their fingertips.
All right. Well, Chairman, thank you so much for making time for us this afternoon. We look forward to watching your speech later on in the conference. We will say goodbye for now, but we will see you again very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you. St. Louis, next up, right? Okay.
That's right. We'll be
all
there.
Right. Uhuru, Conrad, Sandra, and the rest. Vanguard up.
Always a pleasure and an honor, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Please clap.